As he turns 80 next month, Thomas Markle gives a moving interview to the Mail newspaper saying, "I've never been one for birthdays, but I know the one person I most want to hear from, Meghan, will not be in touch. I'd love to meet my grandchildren," he said, "but I'd be happy with a photograph at this stage." Mr Markle became estranged from his youngest daughter, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, in 2018 when he was unable to walk her down the aisle for her marriage to Prince Harry after he suffered 2 heart attacks on the eve of their wedding. The couple have not spoken to him since. Mr Markle has never met his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet. Speaking from his home in Rosarito, Mexico, just 250 miles from the Sussexes' 16-bathroom home in Montecito, California, he remains puzzled that he's never met his son-in-law, asking the paper, "Why didn't Harry ever come to meet me?" Well, for reaction to this sad story, I'm delighted to welcome US political and royal commentator Hilary Fordwich. Hilary, excellent to see you again. Your reaction to this very sad story?
Well, you're absolutely right, Mark. Pleasure to be back with you. It is a frightfully sad story. He also added that he never thought that he'd have something in common with the king. And of course, the king doesn't know his grandchildren either. And I think that's a very sad state of affairs. What is very important, the important thread here, though, is the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy of Meghan Markle claiming to care about people and all the tours they go on where they have empathy for people, and yet her very own father. And also, Mark, it really happened so fast. In 2016, she posted on Instagram that her daddy was the greatest in the world. And the other thing is that she claimed that she had made everything herself and she came from a very poor family. Actually, she had a very privileged childhood, being sent to private schools in California. And of course, her father, he was the one who set her off on her career in Hollywood. It wasn't all done by herself.
Most definitely. Now, the Sussexes are all about PR, aren't they? And this is not good for their brand. Thomas Markle, poor old Thomas Markle, as he approaches his 80th birthday, is a serious thorn in the side and, frankly, an ongoing embarrassment to the couple.
Yes, and I think that one of the things that's immensely sad is that, Meghan Markle wasn't happy to be number 2 to Princess Catherine, and now she ends up being really nothing because dog biscuits and jam really don't rank when it comes to being in relation to the royal family. So instead of being number 2, to go from number 2 to nothing, and also of the greatest sadness is that I think that, and I've said this before, but most importantly, that Prince Harry squandered the love and actually the empathy of a nation. And at this time, yes, her father is experiencing the same thing as the king. And last but not least, I do think that a tiger doesn't change its stripes. What we have to look at here is track record. Somebody who's dumped her friends, dumped her own family, dumped her country originally when she came over to the UK, and even her adopted dog. There is a track record there, and Thomas Markle has sadly said it's referred to now as being Markled when you're dumped.
However, there's 2 sides to every story, especially in families, aren't there, Hilary? And are there not allegations that Thomas Markle might have leaked some of Meghan Markle's private correspondence? And, of course, there was that embarrassing scene in an internet cafe in Mexico where it looked like he was posing for photographs prior to their wedding, heaping embarrassment on the couple.
Yes, and actually he was purportedly paid for those paparazzi photographs that you're referring to prior to their wedding. I do think from things that I've heard from other people, though, he was duped. And certainly her sister Samantha says that he was duped into doing that. And also at the time, he didn't realize how hurtful it would be. But again, Mark, what about hypocrisy? If it's so bad to throw your family under the royal bus, then why do it yourselves? That's what Harry's been doing, and that's what Meghan Markle have been doing. So I didn't think they thought that was so bad, actually.
Indeed. Of course, Donald Trump has had a challenging couple of months, but a good week, hasn't he, Hilary Fordwich? First of all, he's received a single donation of $50 million, which is quite remarkable. The money is pouring into the coffers. You've got leading political and business figures who are getting behind his campaign. And, of course, he faces Joe Biden this week in a major TV leaders debate. Do you think things are on the up for Donald Trump?
Well, actually, yes, Mark. The reason that those donations have flooded in, a couple of things. Number one, After his subpoenas and after the verdict, they actually rocketed. I think it's because a lot of Americans were disgusted with the unfair judicial system and the basically rigged judicial system here in the United States. That actually was a lot of donors, but also importantly, he has actually gone into places, Mark, that no Republican has been since Ronald Reagan. Donald Trump has now been into California. He went to a bodega in the Bronx in New York City. He's been into neighborhoods that are predominantly ethnic and Black neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods that have been taken for granted for years by the Democrats. And what he's doing is something, like I said, no one's done it since Reagan. And it's that community. Most of these donations, over 75% of the donations, Mark, are under $50. And they're new donations. That is huge. A vast swath of America that hasn't voted for a Republican is now going to vote for a Republican.
Hilary, always a thrill to have you on the show. We'll catch up soon. My thanks there to US political and royal commentator Hilary Fordwich.